a story of healing hinged on hope. Lourdes is a film that takes you where you weren't prepared to go, but are glad you went, guided by the talented writer and director Jessica Hausner. A brilliant testament to the depth of the human condition as it relates to understanding our struggles with ourselves and with society, Lourdes is a Martin Scorsese favorite, and a favorite of mine as well. Thank you so much, Jessica Hausner, for joining me here on AwareNow to share this space and to share your story. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, all things start with inspiration. So let's start there, Jessica. What inspired you to produce your film, Lourdes?
So Lourdes was made a couple of years ago. I think we shot the film in 2008. And back then, I remember that the first idea for this project was a very simple one. I started from a sort of log line, which was a film about a miracle. And after a while, the log line became slightly longer and it became a film about a miracle, which might not be one after all. So in the very beginning of the film, I already understood that the interesting point is the questioning of what is a miracle supposed to be? What does it mean? Is it here for us to give us the idea about some divine power, or is it just happening coincidentally? And so I started to research different places of miracles, and Lourdes is one of the most well-known places where they claim that they have miracles happening there. So I investigated that place. I did a lot of research. I went on pilgrimages myself. It was part of my research. And I found out a lot about this place and also about the people who go there, hoping to be healed, actually. And also on that journey, when I developed the story, I understood also more about being sick. So the people who go to Lourdes are believers, but also people who are very, very sick. So a lot of people are near death when they go there, because it's sort of their last hope that suddenly maybe a miracle might happen. So that was very moving for me to understand that this is about people who have no other hope left.
Well, let's talk a little technical. Prolonged pauses make you sit with the characters' emotions and thoughts, unguided by a suggestive narrative. So I'd love to hear about the power of the pause when it comes to your perspective as a filmmaker.
That idea, like what you call a pause, is maybe what I call real time. So when I thought about the visualization of the film or the realization of the film, I normally draw some sketches and I draw a storyboard. And while doing that, I understood that this film is very much about the difference between the idea in my head, like belief or hope, and God. So this is all in my head, in contrast to maybe also some banality of the reality. And to show this banality, I decided to not cut scenes too much and make them all very fast and intriguing, but to allow the nothingness to take place, to make you feel as a spectator that's just banal life. And in that situation, when I'm waiting for something, there are a couple of minutes of nothingness. So I didn't cut them out. And the reason was really to make us as an audience feel also the absence of some divine power, if you want.
Well, done in such a powerful way. Let's get more into the technicality of things. I would like to talk about color, because the color treatment, as you very well know, it smartly, subtly sets the tone specifically for this film in such a profound way. Love to hear your thoughts on color as a filmmaker.
In general, the colors in my films play a very important part, because the style that I create is slightly artificial. So it's not that typical naturalism that you find in many films, where no color is especially popping out. I try to create a visual that is slightly artificial, also to make an audience understand that this is not just a story about some real incident. This is a story maybe more like a fairy tale about a very existential human condition. And I work with Tanja Hausner. She's my sister, and she's the costume designer on all my films. And she's actually the person who reads the script, the first person to read the script, and then she comes up with some ideas about colors. So in my films, it starts by the costume and with the ideas of my sister, and from there we develop the visual style, or let's say the color style of each film.
And so as you're explaining that, I'm just thinking back to the film, and oh, the red sweaters, and oh, this and all that. Just, it was so powerful.
Yeah, the color of red was important in that film, because red means love, but it also means danger. I have the color of red quite often in my films. It's also a sort of thin red line that guides you through the film. So sometimes the lead character in my films has a red accessoire, like Christine in Lourdes, she's wearing the red hat. And in other films I have red shoes or a red suitcase. So the lead character sometimes is going with a red something.
Well, just incredibly impactful. Let's talk a little less technical and more personal now. Of all of the diagnoses in the world that you could have selected for Christine, your main character, why was it MS? Why did you choose MS as your diagnosis of choice?
Well, when we started the research about miracles in Lourdes, we also talked to the doctor, the medical doctor in Lourdes. He's there to investigate the so-called miraculous healings, and he sort of makes sure, or tries to make sure, what sort of healing is it. And we talked to him, and during that conversation it became clear that some illnesses do have sudden improvements or sudden deterioration. And multiple sclerosis is one of those illnesses where you can experience a sudden improvement, but it is not, sometimes it's not there for long. So it's a moment or a phase where where your body becomes better, and then maybe it becomes worse again. So in the history of Lourdes, there are several persons of multiple sclerosis who have been miraculously healed. And there seems to be a connection between also the psychological impact you experience there and your physical condition.
You know, the fragility of the main character, Christine, is so beautifully portrayed two specific times for me. The first time she brushes her own hair, and the first time she's twirled around on the dance floor. So for me, as someone living with MS, I can very much relate to that fragile state. And I guess my question now, and perhaps it's an obvious question, but why was that degree of detail so important in your film?
I think when I remember well, I also like in the preparation of the film, I was allowed to visit a group of people with multiple sclerosis, like a self-aid group. And that was an important moment for me because I was allowed to listen to their conversations. So I understood from their personal experiences what it is like to have MS, or I sort of could understand some personal details. And I remember very well that someone said that it is so hard to allow a helper to help you that it feels like that person said she felt it's hard to keep her pride if she always has to ask someone to do this or that for her. I remember that well because also for the actress Sylvita Stud, that was a very important moment to understand that the character in the film wants to keep her pride. She doesn't want to feel humiliated because she needs help. So this was an important point, and I think also through that talking to the people who had MS, we understood also maybe some details from everyday life. And one was brushing your own hair, or scratching your own nose, or putting on your own makeup. Yeah.
This film, I will say, it makes you question religion, man, self. It makes you ask, who do I put trust in? Or at least that's what I asked myself. Was this the subliminal question that you wanted your film to ask? Or if not, what was it that you wanted people to ask, to be curious about?
Well, I wanted to show something that I understood only through this process of doing the research for the film and making the film. There was one thing that I understood, which is that we all hope to survive. If you have a bad illness or you don't have a bad illness, every one of us will die in the end. And if you have a bad illness, you might think of it more, and you might be more aware of the fact how decay will end your life. But it's true for everyone. And this is some point that was the reason also that I wanted to show, that we think we can survive and we hope that we will live forever, but it's true for everyone that they're going to die, and that is sort of absurdity also in our existence, that we want to neglect it, we want to forget it every day, but it's there.
Speaking about some of the characters in your film, a number of them, of course, they live with a disability. I feel like this is so important to have this on-screen visibility of people with disabilities, to provide opportunities for empathy and understanding. Was this a specific need that you intentionally sought to support in your film?
I think so. I mean, maybe this is not something that I consciously do, but I understand in my films, like when they're finished, I sometimes think, oh, interesting. Again, I show people who sort of are not like, who are, let's say, on the a little bit on the outside, or how do you say that, not fitting in that image that we all want to fit into.
Right.
So all my films actually show us from that other side, from that very human side, where we have weaknesses, where we do mistakes, where we are sometimes wrong and ridiculous, where we are outsiders in our lives. So that is something I would say, yes, that is moving me a lot, because I finally think that no one is really perfect. So everyone is in a way an outsider as well.
I love it. It's so beautifully put.
So it's good things come to those who wait, and wait, we did. Your film has this, you just get drawn in. There's a slow rise that brought so much steep depth to a story about someone who started out a stranger that we then, disability or not, we saw ourselves in.
Yeah.
This is where we get a little more personal. Can you share a personal story of a time when where waiting resulted in something very much worth waiting for?
I don't know if I can translate this into English. There is in German language, or actually it's in Austrian dialect, there is a saying which is something like, more things have been waited for than run after. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if it's true. I'm personally someone who runs after things. So I think I should wait more and just let things happen by themselves. It's probably a good plan for me to not forget.
Well, I will say that your film is a beautiful testament to that, because with the waiting for what's next, waiting what's going to happen, you take in so much, almost like not even meaning to. You just are absorbing it, so it's just being gifted to you just in watching. I guess one last question would be, what do you want people to think, feel, take away when they sit and they watch your film, they watch Lourdes? What do you want them to keep with them?
I do think it's about understanding that we are all handicapped.
I hear you. We all have a disability, whether it's visible or not. And your film is an incredible one that I'm just honored to have watched, honored to have this conversation with you. Thank you so much for sharing your talent, for sharing your time, for helping all of us just become a bit more aware now. Thank you so much.
Thank you too.